Welcome back to the channel, you guys. My name is Chad. You guys are watching JaegerWrenching. I hope you guys are having a good day as always. It's been a little bit since I've made a video. It's been a while. I don't even know if the video of me doing the clutch on my buddy's dad's Challenger's gone up. I did a video on that. I have like 4 or 5 videos I have filmed and just not edited. I've been slacking in the editing department, learning a lot with diesel tuning, spending majority of my time doing diesel tuning stuff because I really want to do, you know, professional diesel tuning. So right now we have my buddy's truck. We're at the shop. I have to be out of the shop here very shortly, by the way. So we're gonna be working on this blue truck and doing oil pump gears, timing chain guides, crank sprocket. So the sprocket that drives the timing chains, I guess, is a known failure on these. Not 100% sure. I'm not super in depth with all the Coyote stuff and what breaks, but we have a table cleaned up over here that I have, so we're gonna get started on it. Let me pull the parts out and I'll show you guys what all the parts are, and then we'll go over them and I'll show you what they are, and then we're gonna tackle doing it. Nice packaging, MMR. So this is all MMR stuff. You check it out. This is a factory Ford oil pump that comes, MMR just takes a Ford oil pump, machines that down right there, and then laser etches MMR in it. And the reason that they do that is because they have their billet, I'm assuming these are billet oil pump gears. I'm like 99.9% sure it's a stock pump because right there it says FOMO Co. So, you know, that's how you know. One thing I like about the Coyotes that I didn't know, if the camera would focus, check out that O-ring for the, if you want to call it that, that O-ring for the pickup on the oil pump. That's pretty intense on these. I haven't worked on these later model ones. That's pretty cool. That's a gnarly setup. I definitely like it better than an O-ring, just because look at how thick it is. I mean, you have a lot of room for successful sealing there versus just the O-ring. You know, if you get a little caulked or something, it can give you some issues. So that's pretty cool. Nice looking piece right here. So we got that we're getting installed. Crank sprocket, very simple. This just goes on the crank. You can see it's got a keyway in it right there, right in front of my thumb. And then it has marks on it usually for, I don't know if this one does, but usually they'll have a mark on it so you know where our chain needs to go. So, and then we got the timing chain guides. These are billet MMR timing chain guide. I'm pretty sure they're billet and anodized. They look nice. You know what I mean? You got all of them here. So we're gonna get these guys installed. So yeah, that's it. You look at these parts, you think, yeah, that's not too many parts, pretty easy to install, right? Yeah, they're pretty easy to install. You just gotta pull, you know, valve covers off, timing cover off, potentially maybe even the oil pan. I've never done one of these on an F150. I've done them on Coyotes, you know, in cars and Mustangs, but I've never done them in an F150. So it's gonna be new to me, just as new to me as it is gonna be you guys. We're gonna figure it out. I'm hoping this video is gonna help some of you out and you're gonna be able to look at it. It's gonna be a little more in depth. We're gonna go A to B and I'm gonna show you guys pretty much everything you need to do. Just be aware of that, guys. This video is gonna be long and it's gonna be, you know, going through the stuff because I like to go through the motions, and maybe it helps, you know, one guy out there versus making content that somebody can just watch and suck it up and enjoy it and then move on to the next. Enough rambling, let's get the hood pop, let's get on it and let's check it out. Check it out, guys. That's a Coyote. Looks like a very stock frickin' truck, guys. Look at that. It's, you know, barely even dusty. I forget how many miles this truck has, like 8,000 or something. Hardly anything. It's a 2018. I kind of like this ram air style intake. You can see it rams and goes right down in there. Pretty smart. That's definitely going to help at high speed. We're going to be taking the intake off. Obviously, I think I'm going to take this coolant reservoir off, get it out of my way. We're obviously going to be disconnecting the battery and, you know, potentially maybe even pulling the fan shroud out just to give us a little more room. We'll see. We're going to play with it. It's kind of crazy how the PCM's all, you know, right there. I kind of like that though. Makes it easy to access and work on. Keeps it away from a lot of the heat and stuff over there. First things first, guys, we got to pull the valve covers off of this. One of the first things we want to do is just kind of get everything out of the way that needs to be out of the way in order to get the valve covers out, get the timing cover off, because those are the main things. Let's get it on the lift and then we'll be good. Off of there. That's it. So we'll slide this guy off of here. Yeah, we gotta drain the coolant, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and just drain all the coolant. Okay, now that we got that guy doing what we want, we can again disconnect this bad boy. looks like the OEs are taking after us aftermarket boys. So the reason I say it looks like they're taking after us is because I've always done that with the crank. When I put it on, I put silicone all over the, I put silicone on the keyway, and I've always done that. That's just something I've learned over the years that has bitten me in the butt, especially on cars doing a lot of supercharger kits, drilling your own keyways and that sort of thing. I always just clean it really good, put some silicone on it, because it never hurts, you know, when it sets up, just to have that silicone there. It looks like they started doing that now. I'll show you that in the keyway, and then we'll do a quick overview of what I've done so far, and then we'll continue on. So if you check that out, guys, you can see that's all silicone there, all over the keyway right there, silicone too. So there's, you know, some silicone all over that thing. That's exactly what I do. You can see it's actually not even on this side, it's just on the side with the keyway. So they're literally doing it just to seal that keyway in there. That, or this has been off before, it doesn't look like it. So, and one thing I really like is these guys went back to, for trucks at least, they went back to a tension style AC. I was thinking this might have had the stretch belt. I hate the stretch belts. This is way better. Ford should do this on every freaking car, Mustangs included. This just makes everybody's life easier. I'm a big proponent of getting rid of them. All right, so here's a little update. I did a little more up top, but we're gonna go over the things that I've done. Pulled off the coolant hose that goes there. Obviously it goes from there down to there, that with the thermostat. We took that off, that's the upper radiator hose. It goes over here. We disconnected the heater core hoses from there, pulled that guy out. Obviously disconnected the intake. We've gone over and disconnected the battery terminal, pretty simple. We've disconnected this, which is a coolant switch or bypass. I don't know exactly what this is, but it's in line with the heater hose setup, it looks like. So some sort of switch or pump or something to help move coolant. It was sitting here. We're about to pull that bracket off, and then on this side I started taking all the plastic off and connectors off that I need to get the valve cover. So I don't even want to take the valve covers completely out of both sides, this side being the pain in the butt side because the direct injection pump and everything's over here. We're gonna go ahead and just loosen them, and I'm basically gonna lift the front up, and I'm gonna have them propped up so that way I can just get them up out of my way. We're gonna make sure obviously these seals are there and everything looks good, but if we just pick it up just enough, we should hopefully be able to sneak the valve, or sneak the timing cover out of there. What's probably going to happen is we're going to lift the valve covers up. The gasket's going to stay stuck in the corners there and there. There's silicone on them, so I'm assuming they're going to stick. They usually do. And what we'll do is just have to, you know, sometimes you can run your finger under there and pull them up. If they're really tight, then you just run a razor underneath there. So we're going to see. I've never messed with the DI side of things, but I've messed with DI in other vehicles, just not one of these. Some of these lines are non-reusable, you know, so we don't want to mess with any of those if we don't have to. I'm not sure. We probably have to mess with one of them or something of that nature, but we shall see. So we're gonna keep trucking along on this. I just have to, you know, do basically what I said. Valve covers are gonna come up and out of the way. Timing cover, there's a couple components, I think. This bracket, some tensioners. I'm gonna just take them, get them out of my way. It'll be a little bit easier if I get them out of my way off the timing cover. And then we're gonna go underneath and make sure we got everything disconnected from the bottom of the oil pan so we can separate it. Yeah, let's get back to it. I'm gonna just jam along. I'm gonna take a second, look over this, see what I wanna do, and what I wanna attack next, and then I'll start filming it. All we need. That's what I'm talking about. So you guys are looking where the timing cover meets the cylinder head. You can see the gasket is stuck there from silicone. If you look at where that's at, we zoom out, right? That's literally right here where it meets. What we do is, if you can't get your finger under there, you know, because a lot of times you can just get your finger there and get it up. You can run a razor underneath there, but see, that one's easy. Like my finger, for the most part, moved it. Bam. That one's disconnected. So we got to do that on the other side. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. It's pretty close. I can feel it. There we go, got that. I like to separate it and just make sure I shove it back up in the valve cover. Shove back up in the valve cover nicely, and then we're not worried about it. So you guys saw that, pretty easy, pretty simple, but you know, it's just little things you learn and little things you know over the years of doing these mod motors. Now that we have that done, we are good on this side. So this side right here, we can literally leave it. We're just gonna make sure we get our bolts up and all the way out, so that way our bolts aren't hitting or sticking in the timing cover. See that? Because I want to fall in their home. So you can see that's up and out of the way. So we're gonna get this side right here just like that side, and when we go back together, I'm gonna clean this. I'm gonna run my razor in here and I'm gonna clean this up. For now, we're gonna leave it. We don't want to have the valve cover up so too much crap can get in there. We'll go ahead and get on this side. I was looking at it. The one thing that has me worried about the DI stuff is the pump is over here. The line runs back down the back of the valve cover. I'm just hoping that it'll give me enough wiggle room so that we can wiggle and just pull this guy, you know, up. I'm gonna go ahead and get the bracket off here. We'll get this out of the way, make sure everything else is out of the way for a good timing cover removal. It's a pretty tight fit, surprisingly, boys. There's not a lot of room for a truck even. This guy's pretty close there, so let's get it. This guy disconnected too. A lot of this harness is loose. Again, I'm gonna get this guy on this side. Alright guys, I was struggling a bit with this valve cover, trying to figure out what in the heck is going on. There's a bolt right there going through the valve cover on the other side of that pump. And the way that it was laid out with the way they bolted it, I just thought they put like a bolt on each side because that's the way it looked. It looked very even, like bolt side to side across. So I didn't think they put another one there. But as you can see, there is a hidden bolt. I couldn't even see it from the top. So we're gonna go ahead and zap that guy out, and then I think that's gonna relieve our problem. It always pays to check your bolts, man. Or if something's not going, it's just not working. Take a second, walk around, say, hey, am I missing something? I've saved my own butt so many times by just saying, hey, just be calm about it. Let's try and figure it out instead of getting frustrated. Let's walk around it. This is so simple. It's a valve cover. It's bolted down. Something's holding it. You know, if it doesn't want to come off, something's holding it. So figure it out. That's what I just did right here. I just said, you know what? Let's lift it around. Let me make sure there's nothing on the other side. Let me lift it up in the air. Verify. Sure as can be. There you go. There's a bolt there. So we're going to bust that out, and then that valve cover should hopefully come up enough to where all we got to do is just do the same thing, slit the little gaskets there, and then we're on our way to pulling the timing cover, which I'm excited about. Old mod motors didn't have to do this. New mod motors, because of this elbow, goes over the valve cover, at least on the truck. All right, guys, here's my timing cover setup. This is how, you know, this is like the timing cover bolts, and I'm taking them out and putting them in here. I haven't done enough of these yet to know where everything goes, so I'm doing that. And you can see that I got a lot of those out right there, and I'm yelling because the music's loud, and I don't want to get copyright striked. So we got to take those guys out, and then we're going to be pulling the friggin' timing cover out, boys, so let's get ready. Alright guys, so there you go. The timing cover is off. We do have this gasket here we got to take off, so I want to gently do it. The valve covers, I like to do it that way because I don't like it to rip all the way out. I'm going to verify and look, you know, underneath the valve covers and make sure they're all good. Usually I tell people to replace these, but this truck is so new, I don't think it'll have an issue. After these heat cycle a lot, they tend to see an issue with a silicone kind of not being sized right. So now that we got this, verify that it'll fit back in here. I'm just gonna do that real quickity quick like. There's really no point in trying to fight this, you know, force it back in if it doesn't want to go. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So, and you can even see right here, we have this end in here and this end in here, and you can see this guy's got a little bit of extra that he doesn't want to go into his home. So that's just, you know, standard heat cycling. That's what happens to this stuff. You kind of want to start it in like in a middle area and work it. If you take it and run it like this, you're gonna actually shove all the slack to one side and you'll be fighting yourself all day. So I'm pretty happy with it, guys. I think it looks pretty good. And what I'm gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and spin the motor and get it to top dead center, cylinder number uno. If you put the piston to top dead center and we pull the timing off, at that point it doesn't matter. As long as we retime it the way that it's supposed to be with all the markings lined up, the engine will run perfect. You can be 180 out if you don't do that. If there's one thing you do right with this, it is doing this. Like I said, I typically like to retime them. This just doesn't seem quite right to me. It seems a little off, so I'd rather mark them really well and put it back exactly how it came out. So the reason for that is I just don't feel like, you know, the timing marks are quite right. This one is correct on where it's pointing on the driver's side head. This one is right here. It's like pointing to like 1 or 2 o'clock. And then this side used to be more so up like over here in this area. So I don't know why it's right here now. Whatever, we got it marked. We know exactly how this is. So as long as we keep this chain, we'll take it off and we'll set it directly over there. And then we're gonna mark this one and take it off and set it over there. And we're gonna leave it in the order and, you know, upright and everything as is. I'm gonna go ahead and get this tensioner compressed and get these timing guides off. Got nice slack right there, so that's really good. We're gonna be able to slide this off, but before I do that, I want to set this tensioner aside, and I'm gonna get all my paper towels laid out and have it nice and clean and ready to go. You can see that the cam load wanted to spin back. You want to be careful with that and make sure these are interference motors, so you want to make sure that they can't go back and smack a valve. I know from experience, like where I'm at with it, it shouldn't smack a valve, but you always want to be aware of that. All right, so there it is. All the stuff is off, crank gears off, chains, blah 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 blah, tensioners, dur. I got the new MMR one and I laid it next to the old one or the stock one, and you can definitely see the hash mark is in the right spot. It's very fine on the MMR. I think they should make that a greater looking or bigger mark. You can see it's difficult to see, but it is in fact in the same spot as stock. So that is good, which means my bottom marks are good to go with them lined up. Here's what has me weirded out. With this chain and all usually mod motor type stuff. Now I don't know if this carries over to the Coyote in every scenario, and older Coyotes it absolutely did. You could take the chains and you could pull them in half, and you look right here is my marking, and you pull it in half. Right on the opposite end would be your other marking. That's exactly how these guys are too. So the factory markings are literally 180 degrees away from each other on exact opposite ends of the chain. So if you don't know, you can take your chain, stretch it out, and you'll actually have one chain on each end or one link on each end, and that could be mark it your new timing marks for your timing chain. This one, I tried it, right? It is the same. In fact, that one and that one, the already existing dark marks are exactly what I just mentioned. So that carries through to this head. That's what has me weirded out. When I did this marking to this marking, you can obviously see they're on basically, this is at the bottom and that one's on the same side. So I pulled it straight, where now it's going to be 180. I'm actually going to mark that with a blue marker, and I'm going to see, putting it back to my orange marks, where that mark is going to line up on this cam gear on this passenger side head. It's going to be right around here, which is weird because if you look at this gear, there's nothing on the gear that says, hey, this is where the mark needs to be, or this is where it should be. You know, maybe that's it right there, but still, that's kind of weird to me. Old school mod motor stuff was like this, where you have the right head, which is what this is the right cylinder head, lining up with the right cylinder head mark. So the fact that that does not line up with like anything is really weird. That's like indicative of timing being off majorly. Like, that's unbelievably bad if that timing is off that far. So it has me a little weary, a little dumbfounded, because I don't know why it's like that. Which is why when I spun the motor over and looked and I saw those markings, I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But seeing the timing chain markings not lining up really trips me out. That's why I'm gonna do this for you guys, in case one of you runs into the same issue. I don't know if Ford changed something and they said, we're gonna use the same cam gears, there'll be a way, we'll tell you how to time it, you know, in our manual. which, you know, the end user like me, if I don't have, you know, a way of looking at that timing, maybe they're like, hey, time it to this mark on the bolt, because there is in fact a mark on that bolt. So if this new mark that I'm going to put on here, if it lines up with that mark, then you guys know, if you go to do this yourself, how to do it. I'm really curious to see where that mark is going to line up. So all right, so there we go. You guys can see, look at the gasket still stuck to the pan there, which is a good thing, because I'll hopefully just be able to sneak it back up in there with that, like that. Just got to be very careful. And yeah, you can see we had to drop the oil pan down. I had to take freaking every bolt out of it pretty much to get this low. That way we could get that plastic pickup off. You know, old school way, you could bend it, mess with it, but this stuff is plastic, and that is not something to screw around with. Trying to, you know, press on plastic, it'll break easily. So I said, instead of risking it, let's just do it properly, which is doing this. Kind of a little tedious thing, but you know what, it's not awful. So there we go. You guys can see there's the old oil pump. It is out. Make sure your rubber O-ring or your rubber, whatever you want to call it, seal gasket comes out with it. They do supply a new one. If you buy the MMR one, it comes with one. If you are reusing it and you're just gonna do yours, your actual gears by yourself, then this is the pump you'd still use. Make sure this comes out, stays with the pump, and goes back in on the pump. And then on this side, you can see it pissing oil everywhere. Look at that. Ugh. Just disgusting. That's where it actually leaves, exits. But MMR's doesn't even come lube. Look in there. You guys can see down that hole, it is dry as a bone down in there. I don't know why they don't put any type of lubrication in there, but man, it is legitimately just down that hole, dry as can be. Look at that. Oh guys, there you go. I can't hold it for very long, guys, but it's dry. There's no lube, no lube. The perfect spot to me to stop would be to get the new oil pump on, get the oil pan back up, get the new MMR guides on, and get it retimed. That's where I want to be. I don't know if I'll get there. I at least want to get the oil pump on and put back up in there. This video is already pretty long, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it there. I don't want it to be any longer, any more drawn out. Thank you guys for watching. As always, I appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell so you know my next video comes out. But it's time for you guys to get the heck out of here.